you that don't know me, my name's Ashley. I've been a part of Caniacs for about a year now. Caniacs is the campus ministry that we started on the University of Tulsa campus. We like to call ourselves the hype squad for the athletic events, but really, we're just there to show some school spirit, hype up the crowd, cheer on the Golden Hurricane to victory, but most of all, we're there just to love on people. I've been able to use my talents and my schooling to become the social media coordinator, the photographer, videographer, and graphic design artist for Caniacs. I've been able to fine-tune this process through many, many trials and errors, and now I'm able to teach it to others, using it as a way to connect them and to make them feel like they're a part of something, hoping that one day they'll do the same for others. There's a famous quote that reads, "When I say I want to photograph someone, what I really mean is I want to get to know them. But I not only get to meet people through the photo booth, but I get to really know them, and I get to capture a moment that will otherwise be gone forever. It can't be reproduced. One day, someone might look at that photo and say, that day, those people, that was life-changing for me." I know it may seem like we're just painting our faces and making fools of ourselves at a football or a basketball game, but God just might be moving through us. In fact, I know He is. I've seen it in people that are probably sitting next to you right now. So God is moving, and I'm so glad I get to be a part of it with you.
Yeah! Session of Harvest. Is everyone having a good time? Yeah! I hope you are. Well, for those of you who don't know us, my name is Kevin Klein, and this is Kelly Wilson, and we direct the part of CIA Ministries that reaches out to the University of Tulsa, and we're called the Caniacs. Now, you might be thinking we're dressed up a little bit differently than Josh and Brent, and that's because we do things a little bit differently out at TU. We're not just your normal campus ministry. So who are we and what do we do? Instead of creating our own event out at TU, like a lot like what RSU and TCC does, where they create their own event, we actually use the events that are already out at TU's campus and jump in on those to help create community within the community of TU. So we actually go and do this through attending sporting events, football, basketball, softball, and the like. Going to the radio shows for all the coaches, homecoming events, campus events supported by athletic marketing and the like. And as you can see with the pictures that you saw a little bit earlier through what we were going, when y'all were eating lunch and the slideshow that was playing, that we attend many different sporting events that are held out on campus. But honestly, what's the point? As Ashley said, our objective, past the objectives of God, is to be the hype squad. Who's here is familiar with soccer and watches a lot of soccer? Think about ultra groups. That's us. We go and we provide hype for the game and provide game day atmosphere. So when we look at that, we do that through many different ways. Taking pictures, as Ashley does, painting our faces up, hanging out before, during, and after the games, bringing student life to the events through conversation, through documenting what's going on, and providing support to the student athletes, coaches, spirit squads, and marketing team. We bring water for the spirit squad. We cheer, we chant, we sing, we dance. We have giant flags. We act funny and bring attention to the team and to the supporter section. We bring life. And that's our goal, is to bring life through leading the chants and doing the things that are necessary to bring people's attention to TU. But why sporting events? Why not intellectual? Why not a wild party? Why not a root beer kegger? Why not anything? Well, honestly, we've tried that. We tried that out at TU, and TU is a different animal. They're very intellectual, but they also like to party, and they like to have a good time. So because of that, events, especially sports, unite fans and people to a common bond. That's why we go and we join in with those people. It brings commonality to people as they meet and see that they may not share everything in common, but they share one thing, and that's the love for TU and their school. They unite people and give us the avenue to introduce ourselves and to people that we've never gotten to know before. and it helps us grow our community in more ways than one. So building on top of our last lesson from Josh and Brent about throwing an event to build community, today Kelly and I are going to be talking about the challenges of joining into a built community, how to build communities with communities inside of them, and how to participate in community.
What you have just experienced and gone through is a 5-minute snippet of what we do at every home football game. So we do this 6 times out of the fall semester, typically on a Saturday morning. So we will be there we'll be at the coffee shop 2.5 to 3 hours early, loading up a truck full of supplies. That's our tents, that's our photo booth, that's our tables, that's our paint supplies, that's our flags, that's a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm not going to name right now. So we'll drive out to campus, we'll set all of this up, and we'll be out there for 2 to 2.5 hours before kickoff, painting up the kids that come through, the fans that come through, the students, the alumni, and sometimes even we'll get opposing teams to paint up because we have their color. They won't paint up TU for some reason, but they'll paint up.
That's awfully strange.
So we have a lot of moving parts. There's small little things that get left each time, and then there are big things that we always remember, but somebody's got to be in charge of it. So with this many moving parts, we are blessed and lucky that we have a lot of people to participate in this. So we've grown. We had about 10 to 12 committed people last year, and this year we're a solid 15 at each home game, and most of the time it's more than that. So it's cool to have such a large crew out there with so many things to do because it makes it easier. One of my favorite sayings is many hands make light work, and that's what this does. And if we look at a verse, Ecclesiastes 4, verses 9 through 12, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. And as much as I'm an introvert and I love to do things by myself because I can do it faster sometimes, I am so thankful for the crew that we have that has committed themselves to going out and to participate in this community because that helps us make a difference in the community that's at TU. And we are called to be different. We're called to be salt and light in a world that is not. So what does that look like at a football game? Well, if you take this typical TU student section, the students are in there, they've got their beer, they've got their friends, they've got their phone, and they don't really care what's going on at the football game. If we score a touchdown, they cheer, but they really just stay there until the end to catch Coach's hat, which I do that as well. But however, there's something that happens at the between the beginning of the game and the end of the game that's important. And we can go in there and we can absorb into that culture. We can sit down, we can just kind of zone in and out, but we don't because we wouldn't be making a difference then. So we're not a thermometer. We don't go in there and say, okay, here's the temperature, we're just gonna maintain this. We're the thermostats. We go in there and we're like, this is what it's gonna be like when we're down here in the front rows of the student sections with our face paint on, with our shirts, our flags, our helmets, everything that we have. Cheering all the way through, providing what's needed for the spirit squad that needs water. We have water coolers out there because if not, I think they would end up dehydrated. There's no other source of water for them out there except for what we provide. And with us doing all of those things, with the crew that we have, people look at that and go, what are you guys doing? You're weird. Yes, okay, we are weird. And the question that gets asked of what are we doing, that's an easy one to answer. We're a hype squad for TU. We want to get people pumped. We love the TU community. But then they ask why we do what we do. And that's when we really get to explain what we're about and what we do and why.
So, I need you to raise your hand and tell me during a little game, what obstacles did you run into? Raise your hand, please. Josh.
Time crunch.
Time crunch. What else? Ashlyn.
Doing a lot of people's faces in that time.
Okay, a lot of people. Brent.
Jacob being a butthead about his face.
Jacob being a
Dare you.
Shame on you,
Yes.
Jacob.
Figuring what you want.
Figuring out what you want.
Yep.
All right. Yes.
Deciding between uniqueness and just trying to get it done.
Uniqueness and trying to get it done. You see a lot of the obstacles that we just ran into. You named a lot of great ones. During the past 3 years of doing this, and also just being a part of it, but also now leading it, we have ran into obstacle after obstacle that had to be overcome, such as being put in a spot that didn't produce anything, and like we were out in the boonies basically out on campus instead of being where the students were. Having to make new relationships as leaderships changed year after year. New marketing directors, new coaches, and learning from our mistakes. I remember that one time our very first game, it was a whiteout, and we actually painted this whole entire fraternity's whole student body basically completely white. So their whole body is white. The only problem with the white paint is it does not come off of your body. Off your face? Yes. Off of your body? It takes about 10 days. It was bad. And the leader, and not only that, but even having leadership leave, the leadership before Kelly and I, they were leading the whole entire thing and they left. And having to take over and learn how to lead from it. And then also, and not to speak ill to you, but their bureaucracy is like no other. And it takes forever to get anything done. But how do you overcome obstacles? Ephesians chapter 6, if you have your Bibles. Ephesians chapter 6. Before we can understand how to overcome obstacles, we must understand where they come from. So, Paul tells us that we need to reframe where our obstacles come from. We need to take a look at the situation from God's eyes and not our own. You see, when obstacles come, it's easy for us to look at people that are causing the obstacles with hate and with disdain. With people not wanting to pay up. When the refs blow a call. When the school shuts down our efforts. But Ephesians chapter 6, starting in verse 10 through 13, says this. Finally, be strong in the Lord and his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God so that when that day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, you will stand. Okay? So, here's the thing. First thing that Paul tells us here is when we go to TU, RSU, TCC, we have entered an all-out battle. We are at war, okay? How do I know that? In that verse it says, put on the armor of God. God does not give us armor for playtime, okay? God gives us armor because we are in an all-out war when we go on that campus. And the battle there, and we're at battle with the enemy, but Kevin, where does it say that? I'm seeing this through that armor of God, and here's the problem. With a battle and a war, there's a mission. And we have to stay on mission. We have to stay on the mission. The mission, no matter the battlefield, the mission is the same, but to be there for the people. Okay? Serve them. Build relationships with them. And tell them what God has done for us. The second thing Paul tells us also is the battle and the war that we are fighting, if we have it on the right mission, if we are fighting the right mission, that the physical opposition that you will face will have a spiritual cause. We look at the things that happen to us as a community and we think that it's just people being hateful, stupid, selfish, or greedy, or things that are out of our control. When the school shuts down our efforts, when people could become selfish, when things seem to go wrong, we must realize that the enemy is Satan and his hordes that are controlling the people behind it. It has a spiritual cause. Even though he talks about the war, he also tells us what we're supposed to do. Ephesians chapter 6, 14 and 18. So it tells you, stand firm, putting on the full armor of God. So it says, put on the breastplate, put on the belt, put on the helmet, put on the shield, put on the sword, and the breastplate. But look at verse 18, because this is where it tells us where we are, okay? Does it say, and then after putting it all in there, do it all yourselves? No. What does it say? Verse 18.
And pray in the Spirit.
So do nothing. Allow God to fight for you. Allow him to fight for you and not try to do it yourself. When you try to do it yourself, you're going to fail. But if we hit our knees in prayer and assume the battle stance, then God will start moving the mountains that are in our way.
Something that helps us overcome those mountains is encouragement. So Caniacs is a place of encouragement. We go there for the people, and that's from the team, the coaches, the spirit squad, the other fans that are there. And we cheer for all 60 minutes. We stand for most of the game. And as the game goes on, you'll notice, or I've noticed with Caniacs and the section as a whole, as the game nears an end, we cheer more. We cheer more frequently and we cheer louder. I think that's partly because we're exhausted, we're ready to go home. but it's also because if we're exhausted, we know the team has to be exhausted. And yes, we hope that, okay, we have a W right now, let's walk out with it, yeah, let's go. Or if it's not a W currently, we hope it changes really, really quickly. So we're cheering more and more. But as we cheer louder for the team, it also encourages us, yes, we can keep going, we're almost done, we're gonna make it through this. And one of the biggest takeaways that's come up in life outside of a football stadium is encouraging people in my life. It's like I can go to a football game, I can cheer my head off for 60 minutes for this team. Maybe I know some of the players, maybe I don't. But when I leave the stadium, why can't I cheer that way for the people in my life, for the people I'm close to, that I have a relationship with, and I know they're going through some really, really hard crap. Why can't I encourage them through a Facebook post, through a text message, through a pat on the back, through some words that are really easy to say? Hey, good job, you're doing good, keep on going. Galatians 6:9-10 says, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we don't give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers. And when you have encouragement outwardly to an outside environment and an atmosphere that's a football game, but also inside the community that you're participating in, it lets you continue to go. So there's been some training for myself and for the people that are involved in Caniacs. Not easy? No. Time constraints? Yes. Do I like football? Yeah, it's an okay sport. Would I really be watching it every Saturday if it wasn't for Caniacs?
Nope.
No. And if I was, it would be inside in air conditioning, not out in a football stadium. But as Kevin said, we have a mission, and we have a vision, and we're there for the people of TU. We don't go out to the football game because we like football games and we like to be at a stadium every Saturday during the fall semester. But we get to learn, we get to grow. People get to show up and see what happens with that experience when they show up. And to give you a taste of that, we're actually going to look at Robert's story.
Get him, Robert. Got a Steeler shirt on.
And so I came to Park Plaza, I was searching for a church, and didn't really want to come. It was a big church, didn't think it would be for me. I didn't think I'd find anybody, and I got in with this college group, and I got invited by Naomi to a Tulsa football game. I didn't think anything of it. I was new, I didn't have any friends, didn't have anything to do. So I was like, well, it's good to be social, I'll go to a football game. So I went to a football game, and I didn't know what it was going to be like. I just thought we were going to go sit and watch a football game, sit there, no big deal. And I show up, and there's a booth, and we're painting faces, and I think I get my face painted. I get a free t-shirt, which was like awesome. We're hanging out. And they send me and they say, all right, hey, go in there real quick and save us some seats. And I was like, okay, I'll save some seats. And I was terrible at it. I was just basically like, I'm sitting here, but I'm like, don't know what to tell you people to go away. So they didn't ever ask me to do that again. this game that would never end, SMU, like we went into triple overtime, and then there was fireworks, and it was like fun, but it was like, oh my word, let's get on with our lives. And so we did that, and that was the first thing I did with Caniacs. And then I came back. I think I went to another football game. I know I went to a couple basketball games and just showed up. As we were getting ready to start planning for this year's Caniacs, Dave and Wes come up and say, hey, man, we need you to help set up and take down whenever we get together for one game. We want you to be there for all of them, but if you can come for this one game and help out because Dave's got plans. I was like, all right, sure, whatever. Next thing I know at this meeting, I'm dragged into set up and take down for the whole year. Somebody else does, that's fine. And then next thing I know, it's like, oh, hey, we've also got the water brigade. We go around, we put down like 5-gallon buckets of water. And like, you're roped into that. So like, I do that too. And all of a sudden, like, 1 year into it, like I'm responsible for setup and take down, I'm responsible for like basically we're like making like cool gadgets and stuff. We made these awesome flags and all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm responsible for helping figure out how to put that stuff together, and then all this other stuff during the game. And so it's just kind of crazy. And the thing that I think is so remarkable about it is all I did was show up. That's literally all that I did was show up. And then all of a sudden I have all these responsibilities. And so the thing that I just think is so remarkable is when it comes to ministry, you know, it's not the only thing that you do, but the first thing and most important part is you got to show up. You got to be involved. You got to do something. I'll admit, you know, connecting with people, building relationships is not my strong suit. That's not my gift. But I show up, and if, you know, by making a flag, I help somebody else make a connection, hey, that's awesome. You know, maybe someday just sitting there, I'll find somebody who's an introvert like me, and we'll make a connection. But that's kind of my story. That's how I got involved with Caniacs, and I built this community just simply by showing up.
Yeah!
Thank you, Robert, for that. Also, when we're looking at it, we talked about how we're stepping on the battlefield when we're at TU, RSU, TCC. We're fighting for people to join us and what God wants done at those locations. We also need to talk about the fact that the armor of God may look a little bit different per campus. On TCC and TU, it may look like it's a bandana, a pair of shorts, and a dart gun. Some other times it's going to be looking like it is face paint, a helmet, and a flag, and just yelling your guts out. Other times it's going to look like sitting in a group of people with a book about healing, which you'll hear a little bit about tonight. But each and every way, you're fighting for people, and you're fighting for the people. So when we're looking at that, though, we also know that community, and when you participate, is a place of what we call sharpening. For a little game that we played, who were my naysayers? Raise your hand. Okay. Now, some of you, I actually planted inside of there. Some of you, I'm looking at you, Matt Hurd, didn't want to participate, but ended up participating anyway, which was awesome. So, here's the thing. What was the reasoning that they kept on giving? Raise your hand, give me some feedback. What's some of the reason? Some of the reasons that they gave not to paint.
I said that I have work tomorrow and I have to go home.
Okay, what else?
Not allowed.
Not allowed?
They don't want to do it.
They don't want to do it, Chris?
Flat out refusal.
Flat out refusal. Yes. What? It feels achy. Okay, so we have a bunch of different things.
It's
Was
optional.
that helpful when they gave
Optional.
you that type of feedback?
It's optional.
Was it helpful? And also, they're a part of your team. How did you persuade them? Chris. Chris Chambers.
Well, I wasn't going to just go
All right.
fight you.
Chris Chambers said it wasn't an option. Okay, what else? How'd you persuade him, Mike?
I got held down by Lynn.
You got held down by Lynn. So, yes, Victoria, one more.
Just threw paint on Leonard's face.
So just threw paint on Leonard's face. Okay, so when we were doing this, I planted a few people, and the people that I planted are actually Caniacs. They're people that come out all the time, and they actually used some of the words that are told to them all the time when we're out on the battlefield. Here's the problem. Sometimes the battle and the war that we fight is going to be with each other and knocking off the demons that are on our team. Okay, so when we're looking at that, we get on the battlefield and members of our team will do something harmful, do something stupid, or just straight out have selfishness issues for that day. I don't want to paint up today. I'm going to show up super late to you. I just want to come to the game. I just want to talk to fellow Caniacs and not the people around me. I don't want to hold the flag because it's too hot. Dollars to Donuts, when you go out on the battlefield, you will see people's true motives. They become selfish, uptight, and obstinate. Why? Because they forgot the reason we are there, which is for people. The community is there for the people, not for them. Okay? We are not here just to watch a game. We're here for a bigger purpose. So we tell them, you need to hit the pause button right now and think to yourself why you're here. And ask yourself why you're here. and look at the fact that we're here for a bigger mission and we need you. Sometimes we have to sharpen one another through correction, okay? Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so another person sharpens another, okay? Sometimes people will also thrive when they're on the battlefield and come and be a part of our team. They use the opportunity as a proving ground of what God is doing in their lives, and they step up and they lead. God has literally used Caniacs to change people's hearts and minds to His purposes and His ways because they chose to hit the pause button on their life and choose a different response. A great example of this is Roxy. We're going to hear her story.
It's like a TV series.
Started being a part of Caniacs the start of my junior year of college, and I just transferred to the University of Tulsa and had a new roommate, had just moved out of my house for the first time, and was just like so overwhelmed, like to the max. I was so focused on trying to like manage my time in the best way possible, trying to, do the best I could in school, trying to form genuine relationships on campus with the students at TU. I knew I was there for a reason, but I just could not get things together. I was just so overwhelmed by all of the events, by how time-consuming Caniacs was, and that just kind of led into this dark state of mind, dark space where I just started to resent everything that Caniacs was, because I hate football. That will never change. That's not what it was about. That's not what it is about. But that's what I was focused on. I was just so angry at the events and at the people that were at the events, because I was just so overwhelmed, and I was, just began to resent that, and then therefore started to resent the people there. And so when Caniacs ended last fall, I was just numb. And when school ended, I was just numb because I was so angry for so long and so focused on just getting through, not truly forming those genuine relationships, but just showing up, checking the box, getting through the day, getting through the game, getting through the event. And so I was numb. I remember turning my last final and just with this attitude of I don't care, I never want to do this again. And I was scared for this season of Caniacs and for just that I would enter that dark space again. And so over the summer I spent time just in prayer and just really God, I don't want to be there again. I don't want to be in that mindset. I don't want to hold things against people like that ever again. And so, he truly, truly worked through that. And recently, Emily Huff asked me how school was going and how things are going, and I was just honestly, it's great. I actually like being at the University of Tulsa. I actually like being at the games. I don't like football still. That'll never change. The fact that they're time-consuming and that they're exhausting, that will never change, but that's not the point. It was a heart change. And, she asked me, why is it different? Why is it different now? Why are you okay now? Why are you better than okay now? And I was honestly, Emily, it's Christ. There's nothing else that could explain this difference, because everything else externally is the same. And she just looked at me and gave me this huge smile, and she was like, that's what I was going for, but I was just hoping you would say it first. And so it truly was, truly, truly, truly a heart change.
Okay, so as we talk about, thank you, Roxy, for your story, for sharing. As we talk about sharpening and change, what comes with that is sacrifice. And if you think of a knife, as it gets sharpened, as you use the proper tools and sharpen it, the knife loses some of the material that it is made out of to become sharper. It becomes more effective, it becomes more efficient at doing what it was designed to do, but it's lost something that made it up. And that's sacrifice. And we've talked a lot about time that it takes to be a part of Caniacs and to participate, not even just in Caniacs, in community in general. It requires a lot of time. Something else that people in Caniacs have given a lot of is their money. We have a budget, we can fundraise for some things, but there are people that are like, this needs to get done, I don't want to go through all the channels to get it done, so I'm going to spend my own money and I'm not going to ask about it. I'm not going to ask for it back because this needs it, we need it done, it's for the people, and we're good and we'll move on. As you sacrifice and as you participate in community, you spend a lot of time together and you can't keep up your facade any longer. The walls come down, the masks come off. We had an event 7 in the morning till 5:30 at night in the dead heat a couple weeks ago, and there were things that came out at the end of that day that now we have to deal with. We have people that are like, there's a lot of crap going on in my life, I've got to do something about it. That wouldn't have come out if they weren't participating in community. You can hide by yourself all you want, but when you interject your life with other people's lives and you participate, things start to show through and you're like, okay, do I want to deal with that or do I not want to deal with that? And if you're in community, they're going to say, we're going to deal with it. And that's what Chris and Kayla are going to talk about a little bit later. How to not only deal with the stuff from your past that affects your actions, but how to heal from it. So God doesn't need you to participate in community, but he wants you to because of all the benefits that come along with it. You give up something. You give up a lot of things. But the thing that comes out of it is a family and a community that is so much more and worth so much more than what you give up. And I can see it on the faces of the people that shared their video. And they're emotional right now. And I'm emotional right now. Because it's true. What you gain is so much greater. So thank you for listening. Thanks for sacrificing your faces for us. The paint does come off, we promise. And we'll be staying for life. So, rain, pain, and go to you.